Hi everybody, just a quick video for you this week. I've got a real busy week on. Can you see me at all? It's getting worse. I'm not in the workshop much this week, and I'm definitely not in the workshop next week. I've got an awful lot going through. There's some interesting experiments happening. You'll learn more about that in next week's video. But for this week, every time I put a video out, somebody always asks me about sanding, about these little sort of sanding pads, and it's probably worth just doing I thought it was probably worth just doing a quick video about sanding tips and tricks and the things that I use. Let's start with these little guys. These are the backing pads, the sanding pads from a regular, Velcro hook and loop random orbital. Now when the sander starts throwing discs, the hook and loop isn't strong enough, but it's usually pretty good, or still strong enough just for hand sanding. So all I do is I take the discs, take the backing pads, and I screw a cabinet knob to them. Really simple, really straightforward. Whatever cabinet knob you've got, just bang a screw through there, and it'll work just fine. Of course, the real beauty of this is that by definition, if you've got the sanding pads, then you've got the sander, so you'll have abrasive in the right size. So it's really useful to be able to just swap out a P180 for a P40 if you need to scuff something up more aggressively, or again swap it out for a 320 if you're denibbing between coats of paint. You've got the abrasive already because they're the standard sizes that your pads are already using. So yeah, good bit of reusing there. Now I tend to buy my regular abrasives in rolls like this. It's Merca abrasive. It's quite useful getting it this way. The main benefit for me is that you can make it up into whatever size you need. I just use double-sided tape, stick it down onto a piece of MDF, and then you can move your material over that for sanding, or you can take that and run it over the bottom of a drawer box, or whatever small piece you're working on. Now if you're like me, you probably just take a regular little block of MDF or something and wrap a piece of sandpaper around it. Now that works really well because your fingers grip the sandpaper at the edges, but sometimes you don't want to sand the edge of what you're doing as well as the base, or vice versa. So what I tend to do for that is I double side a little strip of abrasive to a wooden block, to a strip of MDF, and then I cut it flush with the sides. That's particularly good for say a panel, sanding the rebated edge of a panel door where you don't want to affect the panel, but you want to get the edge sanded, especially after priming, so it doesn't affect the rest of the panel. I don't own a belt sander anymore, but I do have some of the belts for it still. And you can make that into a neat little sanding block as well. Little block of MDF. It doesn't even have to fit very well in there, but a couple of little dowels with some tape wrapped around it just to get the right diameter. Holds it in nice and tight, and you've got a good sized sanding block, and you're reusing abrasive that you've already got. I use quite a lot of these little, I think these are Merca as well, the sponge type sanding pads. They do wear out very quickly, but they are good for getting into really tight spaces, like on spindle or banister spindles, whatever you call them. But they do wear out pretty fast. I don't particularly like the bigger sponge type blocks because I find those to be a bit too hard. But what you can do is just use a regular decorator sponge as a backing pad and wrap a piece of abrasive around that. Now it won't get into the tight spots, but it's perfectly fine for doing larger curves, like on a staircase newel post or something like that. Again, the beauty of it is that you're just using abrasive that you already have, so you're not buying anything new for that. Now, one of my least favourite jobs of the year, every spring I have to sand the outdoor table that I've got in our garden, in our decked area, and there's lots of tiny little slats that I have to sand between. Last year I came up with a good trick. I've got a little 10.8 volt reciprocating saw, and I've got an old blade. Wrap some double-sided tape around that. Wrap that in a piece of P120 and cut it off. And then you've got a great little speed sander that'll get right down inside those slats, and you can carefully, variable speed of course, sand between those slats with a lot less effort. You know, sometimes you get some quite intricate shapes that you need to sand. This is a failed project, well, it's an experimental project for a designer that I work with. No, it came to nothing, unfortunately, but it was the base for a potential table. Anyway, bit of sandpaper stuck to a backing piece of MDF or plywood is absolutely fine for there, but obviously on the inside edges here you can't get quite down far enough into the corners. Well, for this, what I usually do is take a simple sort of filler knife or putty knife, put some double-sided on it, piece of abrasive, cut it around with a craft knife, and then you can get right into those tight corners. Again, best not to saw this back and forth, just to slide it up and down, and it gets right into those tight spaces. And finally, let's not forget that it's not all about sanding, it might just be surface preparation as well, could be cleaning, in which case this stuff, I think you call it Scotch Brite, it's like a green scourer, is very useful. You can cut it to the shape of a random orbital sanding pad, and that'll fit right on there. It's usually hairy enough to stick to the Velcro. You can use that to clean up sort of either large painted panels or metal or whatever you need to do. And also it's often hairy enough just to get enough of a grip on a Velcro backed, hook and loop backed sanding disc, so you can use it like an interface pad, so it's a little bit softer, so it's not such a hard pad if you need to go over a slight sort of contoured surface. These are cheap, they come in big packs. I get mine either from Amazon or from my local decorators merchants. Well, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. It was a bit of a quick one today. I hope you don't mind. There's a lot going on and I've just kind of balanced my time. It'll all become a little bit clearer with next week's video. But for now, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. Please do consider subscribing, then you'll be notified whenever I post something new. And of course, please do share the video freely amongst your friends. Thanks again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.